All right, we're live.
We're live. Hello, everyone. I'm Ken with Newell Property Management.
I'm Adoni with Newell Property Management.
Welcome to this great episode. Today's focus is directors frequently asked questions.
All right,
Let's get right back into it.
What's the most frequently asked questions for this group?
The most frequently asked question, number one, is what is the strangest thing that has happened to you as a property manager?
I was arrested. Well, I was detained. I was not technically arrested, but yeah, I was detained. I just started as a manager. I had gone over to the property. It was maybe my first or second week. I was trying to investigate a chase line, the lines that are installed when you install a new AC. There was a complaint that one had been installed and wasn't painted to match the building. So I go out there, I'm going to check out this chase line, walk around. I never found the chase line, but I did, yeah. What I did find was Collier County Sheriff's Office waiting for me at the entrance to the community because someone had called in that there was a person casing the joint. And
wow.
Collier County had some questions for me.
Zero faith.
None.
Well, that's why we do no night visits anymore, right?
Yep, we do not do visits at night. Don't be walking around. Keep your hands where you can see them and comply with all direction from law enforcement officers.
Question number two, why do I have to pay for a lockbox?
Loaded question. So first, why do we have to have a lockbox? Why do we want a lockbox? Why does the association want a lockbox? I guess, what is a lockbox? Let's start with that. A lockbox is a way that associations can process payments in a much more controlled method. It's something that is recommended for control of association finances. There was a very famous, well, not famous, I guess infamous situation a few years back. Management company absconded with millions of dollars. And the way they had done it, partially, was receiving funds, depositing them into a bank account that wasn't really for the association. So one of the things that all directors should be doing is know that they have a bank account that is for their association and know that the checks are being deposited into that bank account. But if you're a director, how do you know what you don't know? So if a check doesn't come in, how do you know it didn't come in? Because if an owner mails their check and then it clears, the owner doesn't know what bank account it went to. The way to know how that happens, the way to have surety, is through a lockbox. The lockbox is having the check go to the bank. So the checks are not processed or touched or even seen by the management company. All checks, whether they should all be going straight to the bank, but if they come to the management company, they're going to end up going to the bank anyway. And the bank is depositing those checks on behalf of the association, then sending that information to the management company. To do that, there is a cost. So that cost is the lockbox cost. For smaller associations, mid-sized associations, I would say most associations, 90% of our associations, we negotiate that charge to be, there's just no charge. What associations give up to get that is usually some form of interest or some other, they have to give up something. Overall, it usually works out in the association's favor. If you have very large deposits, though, we're talking $10 million in deposits, having that little bit of extra interest makes sense. That couple of points of insurance, all of a sudden it matters. So if you're paying $1,000 a month for your lockbox service, but you could get an extra $10,000 a month in an interest, it makes sense. It's a $9,000 positive. So the reason that you are paying for it is usually that situation. Now we can analyze that just like any vendor to the association. Banks' relationships are something we evaluate. Changing banks is not the easiest thing to do, but we will do it if we need to do it. And the lockbox is a key component to that relationship.
Right, and the lockbox is supposed to be quicker, supposedly.
Yeah, so the lockbox, it should expedite payments. It expedites payments. Just like any business, banks have, they have their ups, they have their downs. We had a bank last year, I think it was the beginning of last year, one of our primary banks was having some difficulty with their lockbox, and things were not getting processed as quickly as they should have been. And or it might have even been 2 years ago. They were aware of it. We became aware of it, and we made, we don't want to sound like we're making an excuse, but we tried to make owners aware of the situation. We allowed additional time for payments to come in. So most banks will outsource their lockbox to third parties, and the third parties are specializing in that. Now, there are some smaller lockboxes that are based in Naples. And so we have a bank that uses SmartPay. I don't think SmartPay works as well as QuickPay. Lockboxes have a software side to it because they have to transmit that information to us somehow. ProPay is connected to the lockbox, so when a owner can go in online and make online payments through ProPay or set it up with ACH, and another software is called SmartPay. The bank that uses ProPay has a lockbox in Naples, and so when you mail a check, it goes to Naples, which is very nice, and it processes. But SmartPay isn't as user-friendly as QuickPay. Now, QuickPay is a more advanced system, but every once in a while, it does have a hiccup, which we've experienced. And usually it's an interface and it will relate to a single association. Most of my experiences have been it relates to a single association.
Right, I haven't seen one company-wide yet.
Yeah, we've never had an issue, to my knowledge, where QuickPay had an issue across all of Newell. But we have seen interface issues because QuickPay allows owners to allow the bank to change the amount of the payment. So unlike ProPay or SmartPay, where those amounts, the resident has to go in and adjust it, QuickPay will actually allow the bank to do it. And so the bank is adjusting it, which a lot of owners will like because if the quarterly fee changes or the annual fee or the monthly fee or whatever it is, if the maintenance fee changes, they don't have to go in and adjust it. It also can allow for ACHing of special assessments or whatever the balance is that's due. There's a lot more options there. But with that sophistication does come challenges every once in a while.
Right.
Not that often. So that's why you should pay for and the more sophisticated the lockbox, the more it will cost.
Right, and the good thing about lockbox is supposed to be quicker and less hands touching checks coming in. So it's only on the bank's shoulders to really deposit those checks instead of there being a middleman like Newell.
Correct.
So the next question we have here is, did the board training I did prior to 2025 meet the new requirements?
Did it?
The answer is no, it did not.
Or it could have.
Or it could have. Or
maybe,
or it depends. So first thing you want to ask if a board member says, I just did training last year, does it count? Well, when did they take it? Because the new courses came out right after July 2024. So if they took a course in, let's say, January 2024, that course does not count. That's the old language, that's the old guard. That 2-hour course doesn't mean anything. They will have to take a 4-hour course if they did not take one after July 1st. So, and then the next question that's kind of a subset of that is, if there's a new director that was not on the board before this new 2024 legislative update, when do they have to take the 4-hour course? The answer is... Say again?
When? When do they?
When? It's 90 days after appointment. So they have 90 days from the day they were appointed to take the online course. Online or in-person course for that 4-hour certification. So that's two things to look out for. And also, if they pass that 90-day mark after they're appointed and they still didn't do the course, they may actually be excluded from the board. Well, they're not allowed to be on the board, technically.
Right. And as a manager, we're not able to just pick them off the board. Newell management is not going to be kicking somebody off the board. But if a challenge is raised, we will have to respond. So it's in everybody's best interest to take the class. We are offering the in-person class. We have an online class. There's the DVPR online classes. So there's opportunity. My personal feeling is if you can, take our in-person class. It's been fantastic. It's fun. It's 4 hours. But it's a lot of information. I think it's better absorbed in person than it is doing the online classes.
Yes, so make your boards aware of the deadlines they have to take this course. Because if they were appointed within 90 days, we'll have to make sure to take it. If not, there'll be some issues. So we want to make sure they're aware of their responsibilities. Now, the next question we have is, why does it take days to issue a check?
So why does it take days to issue a check? I guess to use one of our famous lawyer lines, it depends. So it actually depends if it's going to take days to issue a check or not. And there's a lot of factors that determine how long a check takes. So let's first talk about what is the longest period of time it should take to issue a check. So the longest period of time it should take for us to issue a check, it's going to start. So a check actually starts with an invoice. we're going to have an invoice that gets generated by a vendor, and worst case scenario, it gets mailed to us. So it's generated on day 1. 5 business days later, the invoice arrives at Newell. All right, we've got the invoice. We're going to scan that invoice in and put it into our system. That's maybe 1 business day. It's going to happen very rapidly. But now we're going to have another hang up. It's a brand new vendor. We've never worked with this vendor before with this association. And it's important to remember that it has to be with this association, because each one of our associations is like its own company. It's its own sovereign entity. So they all are able to operate independently. We have to investigate to make sure that this vendor is a valid vendor, that they should be, receiving funds, that they have insurance, that they're somebody that should be getting money from this association. We're going to have to request information from the vendor. That could take, a few business days. So now that process might be another 5 to 7 business days. So we've got 5 business days for it to arrive, a couple of 1 business day to get it scanned in. Let's say another 7 business days to get all of that information and get them in the system, because we've had to ask them. And that's not always the case.
And that's a worst case scenario.
Yeah, we're using
Best
worst case
scenario is they email the invoice. They're already a vendor in our system.
Right.
So it'll be just a couple of day turnaround.
Right, and we'll do the best case scenario as well. But so we're saying worst case. So we're saying small vendor doesn't have a large back office that's able to produce this information for us, so we're having to rely on them. So you've got another 7 days on that. Now we know it's supposed to be in there. It's in the system. It's coded with AP. It goes to the manager. Business day or 2 for the manager to approve. A business day or 2 for the director to approve. A business day or 2 for it to come back in, and then it's going to go through AP processing. So that's probably 15 to 18 business days just in that process. Right. Now let's talk about the more normal, better case scenario. A vendor emails us the document, we get it, it's in the system 1 business day. It goes through initial coding with AP, 1 or 2 business days. It goes to the manager, it gets approved, 1 or 2 business days. Director, it gets approved, 1 or 2 business days. And it comes back out to AP, and AP does AP release. Now, AP release exists for a few reasons. 1, we want to make sure that there are funds for the check so that it's going to clear. There's never a worry for one of our directors that they're going to click approve and a check's going to bounce, because we're going to make sure that that can't happen. The other thing that's happening is positive pay. Positive pay is another system that we look to our banks to deliver for our clients. Not all of our banking partners offer it, but it's a great anti-fraud system. There's been a lot of check fraud. We started noticing it about 5-6 years ago, and that's when we really were pushing to get positive pay in. Positive pay, what slows this down is when we issue a check, we tell the bank we're issuing this check for this much money. The bank's only going to let the checks that we told them about pass. So let's say we issue a check for $1,000 to one of our vendors, and the check gets intercepted in the mail somewhere. And someone takes that check and changes the vendor, and it goes from $1,000 to $10,000. When they're going to go to their bank and deposit it. Now, the bank doesn't know any difference. The bank that they're depositing it into doesn't know the difference. They just know that it's a check and it says $10,000 and it has a signature. It's going to come back to our bank, and our bank is then going to say, hey, this isn't on the list.
Right.
We don't have this $10,000 check, and they're not going to let it clear. So that's what positive pay does.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of checks intercepted. I know one we had from a bogus vendor with a bogus dollar amount that the association never remitted a check to. Luckily, the bank caught it because they had positive pay, and we had no checks issued to that person. So that's been very good at detecting fraud.
Yeah, and for most of our banks, there is no charge for positive pay, because the fraud prevention, the positive of that to the bank is worth the cost of having positive pay in place. So positive pay is a great thing to have. So that's why issuing a check could take anywhere from 5-7 business days to 15 or more business days. However, we do have the ability to issue a check as an emergency check. When we do that, a check is almost immediate. You're going to have it same or next business day. So an emergency check, what that means is all the safeguards that we had in place, we don't have those for emergency checks. A vendor needs to be paid immediately, and we've got no other way to do it. We can't wait that time, so an emergency check is issued. The most common place we see this is in insurance, and that is because insurance is high pressure. The turnaround time is quick. So when you do your insurance renewals, about on average, in general,
Average, okay.
and on average, how many days before the renewal date do you think you get the renewal packet with the premiums?
Average, I'll say a week if I'm very lucky. If I'm unlucky, 48 to 24 hours before the renewal date.
Right. And that's why we want to work with good insurance agents, but it's sometimes not even within the insurance agent's hands. We had a situation that happened last year where an association wanted to make sure that they had all their information a week ahead of time. And they did. They received it about 10 days ahead of time. They made their decision. They get with the agent and they go to bind it. 2 days before the renewal or a day before the renewal, a renewal option came in from a new company that had just kind of started doing business in Florida. I think it was called Giovera. And the number was $40,000 less than what we were renewing. So we're trying to undo all of it. We're trying to get money back. It's a mess. Because insurance has such tight turnarounds, when insurance policy, the funds are due for binding. And this is especially true with flood insurance. Because with you never want an insurance policy to have a non-payment. And you never want to receive a notice of potential cancellation for non-payment. But it happens sometimes. It shouldn't, but it does. And I was talking with another management company owner, and he was kind of joking that at his company, that's basically when they pay it, is when they get the notice of cancellation, because I'm like, that's not a good policy. Don't do that. You want to be paying in advance. But with property policies, general liability policies, we have options to get those paid and to get them reinstated and to not really have negative consequences.
Right, and you can get it paid without even using a check. We have online options and also over the phone, so we can get it as quickly as possible paid to these insurance carriers who don't have any lapse in coverage.
Yep, and we want to make sure we do that, particularly with flood insurance, because if flood insurance lapses, there is no recovery from it. You are going to be writing a totally new flood insurance policy. And for most associations, we have an association we took on last year at some point in time, and their management company had renewed the flood insurance, had cut the check probably 15, 20, 30 days in advance. I mean, it wasn't like it was a quick turnaround on it, and mailed the check. The FEMA never received, so NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, is through FEMA. NFIP, they administer it through different agencies. I think this one, or different insurance companies. I think this one happened to be Travelers. Travelers never received the payment. So the insurance lapses, and they cancel this policy. It was about an $80,000 policy. So the company, the management company, talks to the agent. They have to get a whole new policy put in place. The replacement policy was over $200,000.
Oh my
because you can only increase flood insurance by certain amounts. But if it goes like that, getting it reinstated is just, it does not work out.
We want to stay on top of our flood insurance and our property insurance.
So particularly with flood insurance, you're going to want to have that you're going to want to have that paid over the phone or online. We prefer to do online when we can, but sometimes even online creates issues. We've seen that happen where you have to set up an account, because it's important to remember, again, NFIP, there's multiple companies that are administrating it. They have different ways to make those payments. Some of them work very, very well. Some of them don't. Just like what we were talking about with the lock boxes, different agencies have different systems. I think that we have accepted that IPFS through most of our insurance agents works very well. But there are some other things out there that don't work as well. And you think you've made a payment and it says that you've got a confirmation, but the confirmation doesn't start for 6 months or 90 days or something. And the agent doesn't make us aware, or it's not clear. And then all of a sudden we're making payments. And that's not the way it should work.
And also check those finance agreements too, because there's very different terms. You can have monthly payments, you can have bi-monthly payments, and quarterly payments. So when a board member asks you, why did we not pay insurance this month? It's because it may be on a bi-monthly basis. You want to take a look at your premium insurance schedules and make sure you're up to date on those.
And some insurance companies will even offer the financing through the company directly. Like Frontline, I think, offers you the ability to finance it. Yeah, without having to go to a third party like IPFS or something. Do we have any more questions? Or
those are all the questions I had on my list.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us.
Until next time. Thanks.